and why it didn't stop before it got this far.
Being overweight used to be socially unacceptable, but now it's ballooned into something dangerous.
Body mass index of the clinically obese spreading everywhere.
We're spending $150 billion a year.
Britain is essentially sleepwalking into a crisis.
In Mexico, 70% of all adults are overweight.
In the past 30 years, the number of obese kids in the U.S. has tripled.
And so readily available, and therefore so
every
death
so if it's not just one ingredient,
but
this is a crisis affecting our bodies as well. America's overweight or obese.
Obese children.
Obesity.
Obesity epidemic.
Obesity inevitable.
3.
Obesity is considered a multifaceted, complex medical condition where a person has accumulated a mass of body fat that may begin having negative effects on their health. People are considered obese when their BMI, a measurement obtained by dividing a person's weight in kilograms by the square of a person's height in meters, exceeds 30. Obesity is a rapidly growing public health crisis that affects millions of Americans, but how bad is it? What are the causes, and what can we do about it? There are many health risks that can be attributed to obesity. Individuals that are obese have greater chances of getting major chronic diseases such as heart disease, sleep apnea, type 2 diabetes, stroke, high blood pressure, and many forms of cancer. Additionally, obesity is associated with pregnancy complications, high cholesterol, and stress. Although the consequences of diseases acquired from being obese are not always fatal, obesity reduces one's quality of life. According to the National Institutes of Health, obesity and overweight together are the second leading cause of preventable death in the United States.
2 out of every 3 Americans are overweight, and that number is expected to rise to 3 out of 4 by 2020. The United States is the world's fattest developed nation, with an obesity rate double of that in many European countries. 1 in 3 Americans is expected to have diabetes by 2050. Minorities have been even more profoundly affected. Blacks have a 50% higher prevalence of obesity, and Hispanics 25% higher when compared with whites. So how did it get this way?
If you start in 1990, you'll see that, hey, we look pretty good. There are not too many states, in fact, no states here charted with obesity 15% or above of the population. But look what happens now as we get a little further. Had to bring in another category here of obesity, 15 to 19%. You can see the country getting darker and darker. Had to come up with yet another category, states over 20% obese. It gets worse, 25%, worse still, greater than 30%. And I guess the reason I don't have the 2008 numbers is they're too shocking, and I couldn't bear to show them to you. But the bottom line is that this is a growing problem, and this is just obesity. Remember, if you include overweight in that too, you can pretty much double these numbers.
Obesity has become an increasing epidemic in our society. According to AmericanObesity.org, between 1985 and 2008, the U.S. went from less than 10% obese to trending over 30% obese in most states across the country. For some, obesity is caused by a variety of medical conditions, such as hypothyroidism, the lack of hormone production by the thyroid gland. The lack of hormone production and hypothyroidism slows the system's metabolism and contributes to weight gain. Obesity has a major medical effect on individuals regardless of their ethnic backgrounds, age, and socioeconomic status. Many believe obesity is simply caused by poor diet, the environment in which you live, and conducting an inactive lifestyle. Poor nutritional choices and living a fast-paced lifestyle where we resort to eating a lot of fast foods do contribute to the cause of obesity. But evidence suggests the main cause is too much sugar.
Apps showing obesity rates rising and spreading across the country like a rash.
What are the health implications of all this? Studies show that obese individuals are at a higher risk of developing chronic diseases such as diabetes, heart disease, hypertension, and cancer.
Topping the list of contributing factors, the ubiquity of inexpensive, good-tasting, supersized, energy-dense foods. In other words, the very foods the CEOs were in charge of selling.
Our environment doesn't always support healthy lifestyle habits by lack of access to healthy foods, advertising for high-calorie, high-fat snacks, and sugary drinks, and less affordable gyms that makes it hard for people to become more physically active. Also, many partake in sedentary activities such as spending hours in front of the TVs and computers. People who are inactive are more likely to gain weight because they don't burn as many calories as they take in. For some, a primary cause of obesity is that corporations are allowed to produce and advertise foods that have little nutritious value and are addictive and contribute to weight gain.
Among developed countries, food activists say it's all about addiction maintained by a subtle system of technological and marketing tricks by food corporations. Marina Bodnaya looks into what's feeding America's food habit.
It's the richest country on earth, where banks can't fail and waistlines can't stop expanding.
Waistlines in America are growing. An alarming new study showing half of all Americans could be obese in less than 20 years.
Sugary drinks and wider waistlines go hand in hand.
With 1 out of every 3 adults clinically obese and 40% of children officially overweight, experts say food has become a drug, engineered, cooked, and marketed by an industry banking on addiction.
What these food scientists have done is they've gone into a lab and they've created these chemical concoctions that are very sweet, very fatty, and very salty, and they call it a bliss point.
Scientists
So right after you eat these meals, you have energy. But the energy lasts a very short period of time, and you're hungry much sooner. And then you have to eat again, and then you have to eat again, and then you have to eat again.
It is a lot cheaper to go eat fast food. I mean, definitely, you can buy a hamburger for cheaper than you can buy an apple.
That's very sad because you're telling me I have to pay more in order to eat healthier, but I can pay less in order to get fat and to make you rich, or for something that I might die off of.
Told us that if I wouldn't have taken her to a nutritionist, that she would probably be full-blown by now.
Olivia was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes at the age of 12 and now must check her blood sugars 4 times a day and take medication twice a day.
In the late 1970s, early 1980s, type 2 diabetes was never seen in children. That was the distinguishing feature between the two diabetes. We see as much or more type 2 diabetes in children now as we do type 1, and the reason for that is because there's obesity. So there's a dramatic example of 30 years of the changing of the entire epidemiology of a serious disease moving into childhood because of obesity.
There's new scientific research linking sugar to all kinds of chronic disease.
Diabetes is coming.
Today in North America, it's estimated more than 100 million people are diabetic or pre-diabetic. Dr. Robert Lustig is quite sure he knows why.
So I can actually categorically say to you that sugar is the proximate cause of diabetes worldwide. And we have hard and fast data to show that.
His data come from his own study done over a decade, comparing diabetes rates in 175 countries with people's diets.
And we ask the question, when you adjust for all of the factors that we know are relevant, what about the food supply predicts diabetes rates worldwide? Answer, sugar, and only sugar.
Is this the result? There's no question, as our consumption of sugars has grown, so have our bodies. Canada doesn't keep good statistics, so we've used American ones. And those stats raise the troubling question, are we changing our evolutionary shape? Here's the line showing our sugar consumption for the last 50 years. Here's the number of people who've become overweight and obese. Now, look at this line. It's for cases of type 2 diabetes. And this one, diseases of the heart. Back in the 80s and 90s, we used to blame a lot of those problems on dietary fat. But then we started taking fat out of our foods. Did the incidence of disease go down? No. So that got a lot of doctors and nutritionists asking why. The answer, according to an increasingly vocal group, is sugar.
Which was worse, the sugar or the fat? The sugar 1,000 times over.
Robert Lustig, doctor, author, medical professor, and one of the leaders of the anti-sugar campaign.
The fact is, our food supply has been altered and adulterated under our very noses and in plain sight over the past 30 years.
In addition to treating obese kids, Lustig is a YouTube sensation. His lecture on sugar has been seen by nearly 4 million people around the world, and he doesn't pull his punches.
The fat's going down, the sugar's going up, and we're all getting sick.
You use words. You use poison. You use toxic.
Certainly I use those words, and I mean them. This is not hyperbole. This is the real deal. Everyone thinks that the bad effects of sugar are because sugar has empty calories. What I'm saying is, no, actually, there are lots of things that do have empty calories that are not necessarily poisons.
Poisonous, he says, because of what too much sugar does in our body. So let's take a look at that. Sugar is made up of two molecules, one called glucose, here in blue, the other fructose, in red. When they separate in our gut, the glucose circulates throughout our body, feeding our muscles and our brain. But the fructose goes right to our liver, and it's in the liver where all kinds of problems begin.
When you metabolize fructose in excess, your liver has no choice but to turn that energy into liver fat. And that liver fat then causes all of the downstream metabolic diseases.
We'll tell you more about those diseases in a moment. But first, let's talk about your brain. Too much fructose, says Lustig, shuts down the part of your brain that tells you when you're full.
It doesn't get registered by the brain as you're having eaten. So if you take a kid and prep him with a soft drink and then let him loose at the fast food restaurant, does he eat less or does he eat more? Turns out he eats more.
But the bottom line hasn't changed. If you're getting sick from what you eat, it's your fault.
For people to blame the consumer, to blame the victim in all of this, just as the tobacco companies blame the 12-year-olds they go out and addict, it's just not fair because people aren't given the information that they need if they're trying to make a good choice.
As with tobacco, at some point it will all come down to lives and to dollars. The reckoning, warns Dr. Lustig, is coming.
The bottom line, there will be no money left by the year 2026 for anything else because diabetes will have chewed through all of the healthcare dollars.
Causes cancer.
I think that eating too much sugar can definitely increase the probability of cancer and also make the outcome of people who already have cancer worse.
So how? Well, let's review what sugar's made of. One molecule glucose and one fructose. We know that when there's too much fructose in the liver, it sets off a chain reaction. The pancreas produces more insulin. What Cantley now believes is that excess insulin changes cancer tumors, telling them to gobble up the glucose.
What we're now learning is that some of the cancers, particularly those cancers that correlate with obesity and diabetes, often have insulin receptor on the cancer cell. The tumor, by expressing the insulin receptor, tricks the glucose into going into the tumor rather than the muscle and fat. And as a consequence, the tumor can use that glucose as a fuel to grow.
In the most extreme cases of obesity, surgery may be an option for individuals who just can't lose weight. According to the article, Obesity Surgery, Surgery Effective for Extremely Obese Americans, there are a few surgical options that are available for the obese depending on their health history and current weight. One option that is quite common is adjustable gastric banding. Adjustable gastric banding is a weight loss surgery that uses a band to squeeze the stomach into two sections. The ultimate goal of this surgery is to shrink the proportions that you eat, resulting in drastic weight loss. Extremely obese people whose BMI of 40 or greater often pose a greater risk of dying during or after surgery due to the wide range of health conditions. Surgery is not a complete solution for obesity, but could be an effective strategy to help individuals lose a portion of their weight. Although there are a possibility that surgeries could lead to death or many health conditions, that may be a risk that some are willing to take.
It's Media Day at the White House, and journalists from around the world are clamoring to see Michelle Obama's kitchen garden. She's decided to make healthy eating and exercise the centerpiece of her role as First Lady.
We have to eliminate food deserts in this country, and we need to do it now.
You don't need to travel far from the White House, just a few miles, to find what Michelle Obama describes as a food desert. Plenty of liquor stores, but no fresh food. Southeast D.C. has one of the worst obesity rates in the country.
The food that you put in your body can either heal you or kill you.
On a Saturday morning, the Ward 8 Farmers Market is a small oasis in an otherwise barren food landscape.
Know what you're doing now.
Yes.
Lauren Vonderpool, a Washington, D.C. native and vegan chef, is giving a demonstration, teaching residents how to make a raw food salad.
So, this is a raw food dish, and now raw foods are good because when you cook your foods, a lot of times the enzymes and the nutrients are released into the water.
I was born in Washington, D.C. I was raised in a food desert, and people just don't know. People just don't know. They haven't been exposed. They haven't left Southeast.
We're done!
They're used to what they've been exposed to. And what they've been exposed to is liquor stores, corner stores, and carry-out.
A private school in Washington teaching children how to cook and enjoy food. He's seen real changes in the D.C. public school system. Less sugary foods and more fruits and vegetables.
My feeling is school food is important because we're perpetuating a culture of junk food that is literally making kids sick.
The U.S. government says the current generation could be the first in history to have a shorter lifespan than their parents.
Another possible solution is to join current programs whose mission is to prevent and control obesity. Let's Move.gov is a current program that creates a healthy start for children, empowers caregivers, provides healthier food options in schools, improves the accessibility and affordability of food, and motivates people to increase their physical activity. AmericanObesity.org provides wellness groups and prevention programs and encourages children and adults to adopt behaviors that promote better health.
Before coming to the White House, the President and I lived lives like most families. 2 working parents. I was busy trying to maintain some balance, picking kids up from school, trying to get things done at work, just too busy, not enough time. And what I found myself doing was probably making up for it and being unable to cook a good meal for my kids. Going to fast food a little more than I'd like, ordering pizza, and I started to see the effects on my family, particularly my kids. It got to the point where our pediatrician basically said you may want to make some changes. So started making those changes, short, easy changes, but they led to some really good results. So I wanted to bring the lessons that I learned to the White House. This led to our new initiative, Let's Move. Let's Move is a nationwide initiative that basically focuses on 4 key components. First, we want to improve information and the tools that parents need to make the changes that are desired in their families. The second is that we have to improve the quality of food in our schools. That's where kids are eating many of their meals, and we have to do a better job of making sure that that food is quality. Third, we need to improve access and affordability of healthy foods. We have to eliminate food deserts in this country, and we need to do it now. And finally, we have to increase physical education for our kids. We need to get them moving. And we're going to be relying a lot on major sports organizations to help us achieve that goal. And we're very excited about that. Let's Move is going to take families out of their isolation and give them the nationwide support that they need in a whole range of industries to get their kids on track to live healthier lives, to eat right, to get more exercise, and to be ready to face the challenges of the future.
"144 children at Long Island Head Start's Bay Area Center learn to be fit, have fun, and enjoy nutritious meals." By following the curriculum called I Am Moving, I Am Learning, we are increasing children's protective factors against chronic disease and obesity and building a foundation for long-term health and well-being. Learning occurs best when children are moving. It is an interactive process of the body and mind, where the body teaches the mind and the mind guides the body through further exploration. Children and yoga are like peanut butter and jelly. They just go together well and can easily be taught to preschoolers. By practicing yoga in the classroom, children have fun learning physical fitness in a positive environment. This allows them to build lifelong skills necessary to healthy development and a love of physical activity. All meals and snacks served in our program are based on Child and Adult Care Food Program guidelines. Meals are low in sugar, salt, and fat, and contain whole grains, low-fat dairy products, and a variety of fruits and vegetables. Meals are served family style, as this enhances the child's eating experience socially, developmentally, and nutritionally. Children at Long Island Head Start are planting seeds for their garden. Gardening promotes a better understanding of where our food comes from, physical activity, and the motivation to try new foods while providing quality outdoor experiences and hands-on learning. Through experience, we learned that children are more likely to eat the food they grow. Watching a plant grow from seed can be magical for our kids.
Now I have to cook all these different stuff that I really love.
So ever since my daughter's been introduced to yoga in the classroom, she's been coming home and teaching me new moves.
I want to encourage her to continue to learn these new things and have an open mind. Mis nietos han estado aquí, este es un muy buen programa. Los niños comen muy saludable, tienen muchas actividades. Mi nieta, los 2 años que estuvo aquí, hizo yoga, le gustaba mucho, lo hacía en casa también.
Long Island Head Start has joined First Lady Michelle Obama and other child care providers across the nation in the fight to prevent childhood obesity. Please visit www.letsmove.gov to see how you can get involved.
Today is Saturday. Today is Saturday. Salad on Saturday, fruit on Friday, bubble Thursday. Water Wednesday, touch your toes Tuesday. Let's move Monday, swap a snack Sunday. All the healthy children eat well and move a lot. And move a lot. And move a lot. Eat well and move a lot.
60 minutes of physical activity a day and eating well can help get your child healthy. So keep them active and eating well every day.
Skip a rope Saturday, freeze tag Friday, tap dance Thursday. Whole grains Wednesday, try to veggie Tuesday. Let's move Monday, split the sweet Sunday.
Eat well and move a lot.
Today is Saturday. Today is Saturday.
All the healthy children, all the healthy children. Get ideas. Get involved. Get going at letsmove.gov. That's letsmove.gov.
There is something you can do. Our first step is to educate ourselves, our kids, and our friends. Some of the causes are eating poor nutritious foods, corporations that hide sugar in their processed foods to make us love their products, corporations and their advertisers that pursue profits over consumer health, the government revolving door that allows officials that are in charge of protecting consumers to become employees of corporations that then exploit their government contacts to their competitive advantage. Some of the solutions are eliminating food deserts and substituting fresh fruits and veggies for processed foods, moving more, whether that's exercise or playing, avoid toxins like sugar and fructose, and also join First Lady Michelle Obama, community leaders, teachers, doctors, nurses, moms, and dads in a nationwide campaign to tackle the challenges of obesity. Take the first step of action. Visit websites like letsmove.gov and americanobesity.org.